Thanks to the supporters of channel member A11 Scorpio 1996. They took all my money away. They took all my transfer budget away. They took all my wage budget away. I've had to sell players. We're going to fail FFP. We've got more players on the transfer list. And believe it or not, all of that combined has led to us losing loads of football matches because the players are grumpy that I'm selling them. This is not how the rest of this season was supposed to go. Hello, and welcome to part 32 of Saving Man City. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have 2 games for you in the Championship, and we need to get back to winning ways. We're away against Hull and Blackburn, and since you were last with me, things were going really rather well. Spot the point that it all started to go wrong. We lost 3 in 4 Championship games by the odd goal here and there as well. I mean, we're still scoring goals. We've just decided to start being rubbish defensively again. But 3 defeats in 4. Luckily, we'd done so well before that. We are still top of the league and well clear of 3rd place. So hopefully it's not going to lead to a disaster. But what is disastrous is what's going on with the club finances. We're now £50 million overdrawn. We are projected to be £85 million overdrawn by the end of the season, which traditionally, these are numbers that haven't been too bad. But the key problem is that we are on course to fail FFP. We have to have a maximum loss over a 48-month period of £15 million, and we're currently losing £44 million. Contrary to what some people in the comment section have thought in the past, that's not 4 years from now or from the start of this season. It's a constant 4-year rolling period looking back. So we've got a £30 million deficit over the last 4 years that we need to make up by the end of the season, because if we don't, and we don't get promoted, we go back into transfer embargo. Now, fingers crossed, we hopefully get promoted and it doesn't become an issue. But this has led the board to get into a panic. And despite the fact if we'd have just left everything untouched, we'd have got to the Premier League comfortably. The FFP thing wouldn't be an issue. That would be covered by Premier League TV money. They didn't have that foresight, so they took away all of the transfer budget that I had previously and took £100,000 a week off of my wage budget, which means even after selling players, and I'll show you in a second who we've sold, but even after selling players, we still have no transfer budget, and we're £50,000 a week over our wage budget, and still on course to fail FFP. To try and balance the books, we've put a lot of players on the transfer list. The ones that have actually gone, we've let Tyrese Forner has gone out on loan to Charlton because they're covering all of his wages, which is important because we lost so much wage budget. And then he does have a clause in there to join them for £1.3 million at the end of the season if they decide to take up that clause, which would be a profit on him. So it wouldn't be disastrous. We've also sold Micah Hamilton. He's gone to play in South Korea. It's a £6 million upfront fee that rises to £7.25 million with add-ons. Again, the crucial thing is he was on £20,000 a week after that pay rise he got when we extended his contract. So we needed to get his wages gone as much as we needed to cash in on him. He's only started 3 matches this season. So he has moved on as well. There's a few other players who've gone out on loan and then loads more that are on the transfer list. Callum Britton wants a pay rise and we can't get him one. So he's in a grumpy. But we've also got Ricky J. Jones, Romain Mundle, Fisayo Deli Bashiru, Finley Burns, Pedro Seco. All these guys are on the transfer list because they're all the fringe players. I mean, as much as I love some of them, like Ricky J. Jones, brilliant. Seco is going to be a Premier League player, but we're looking as short term as the board because they're forcing me into it. So if you're not a regular starter or first round substitution, you are on the transfer list, but nobody wants them because, again, we've got all Manchester City with it and we're probably paying a little bit too much money. Someone like Ricky J. Jones, 12.5 grand a week, no one wants to take that on for a player who, as a striker, doesn't exactly score prolifically, and they'd have to spend multiple millions of pounds just to have the pleasure of giving him all that money in salary as well. So we've struggled a little bit to move anybody on, which means we are almost certainly going to fail FFP unless we get another mystery sponsorship. We obviously have had some lovely sponsorships in recent years. The most recent one was the £71 million that magically turned up in the second half of last season. So we need another one of those. But I'm going to be a little bit frustrated if we get one after having to have massive upheaval in January, put a load of people on the transfer list, and in turn upset them so that we hit bad form. The board could cost us promotion here, and I'll be very cross if they do. But let's get back to winning ways. That's what we set out to do today, and that's what we're going to go and do. So we are going away to Hull, and we're going with Trafford in goal. A back four of Norrington Davies and Bette, Hyam and Britton. Patino at the base of the midfield. Fiorini and Webster ahead of him. Philogene on the left. Marquinhos on the right. Ibrahim up front. And we're going to go and win a football match, and then we're going to go and win another football match, and we're going to pretend. I mean, it's been the theme of the save, really. We're going to pretend the off-field stuff isn't happening, just focus on winning our own matches and focus on getting to the Premier League, because as we've said all through the save, get back to the Premier League and the finance issues are behind us. They're done. Our level of debt that we've got now wouldn't even be top 5 most debt in the Premier League. And there's so much money that comes in the Premier League that it kind of isn't an issue. You can live in a massive overdraft as a Premier League club, and it rarely catches up with you unless you fail FFP or get relegated. And I would hope to do neither of those things if we make it back to the Premier League. Whether or not we'd be competitive if and when we get there, I'm not so sure. I mean, you look around this group of players, there's still a core of the team that are here on loan. And obviously you can't have that many loans in the Premier League, certainly not domestic loans. And then you look at the likes of Norrington Davies, Hyam, Trafford, Britton, Philogene, Fiorini even, Petit. All of these guys, you look at them and think, are they Premier League players? Or are we going to have to go and get an entirely new team if and when we get there? It's a tricky one. But for now, like I say, we're pretending none of that is happening, and the focus is purely on getting Manchester City back to the Premier League, and we'll worry about stuff like not having a ground and not having any money and not having any players when we get there, if we get there, because we are struggling against a mid-table Hull team, because, like I say, we're in rotten form now because I've had to upset half the players by putting them on the transfer list. It's not ideal. I mean, at this point, I suppose I could take them off, because the transfer window is closed. We can't sell them before the end of the season now. So we'll either be in a big mess because we're in the Championship and we're going to have to sell a load anyway, or it's not a mess anymore because we've got to the Premier League and we're more likely to get the second outcome if the players are happy. But then we're not really doing anything to try and fix the problem, which, I don't know, if I was the board, I wouldn't be very happy about. We very nearly scored a cheeky little goal there. Webster trying to push it over the line. I mean, I guess if we'd have had McAtee, Delap, Ibrahim, someone like that in that position, it probably is a goal. But with Webster there, less so. And we are still kind of flailing around, not sure what the first 11 is, which is also probably not ideal. Right, we're going to go to the 4-2-3-1. We're going to go a little bit more attacking. And we're going to take off Patino. And we're going to bring on Farias, who's going to go in there. And then there's a few other players who are tiring. So Ferguson can come on. Di Gasperi can come on. And, I mean, Ibrahim has been rubbish. So we're going to bring Liam Delap on as well. I don't usually do 4 substitutions. We're going to stay attacking. I don't normally do 4 substitutions on 70 minutes. But Ibrahim was having such a poor game. We needed to give Delap as much time as possible to try and get on and make a difference. We've got one more change we can make. 2 boys who are both on the transfer list. Ricky J. Jones is the one who gets to come on for Philogene. Signing Philogene and Mundor. In fact, we signed Jones permanently this summer as well, didn't we? So we signed 3 permanent players, all for the left wing in the summer. I wonder why we were going to fail FFP. Right, Marquinhos on the right-hand side. Plays it in. It's a lovely in-swinger to Liam Delap, and that's why we wanted Delap on the pitch for as long as possible. That is a beauty of a cross from Marquinhos, and that is bread and butter for Liam Delap. We've seen him do that for 5 years now. He is always going to be favourite when you get a lovely cross like that played into the penalty area. He's so good in the air, and that is a lovely finish and a lovely move, and hopefully the start of some lovely turnaround in fortunes for this Manchester City team that, like I say, struggling just a little bit. Oh, my word, Delap is showing off for you lot again. Imagine if that's gone in. He's tried an overhead kick from the edge of the area there. I've never seen anything like it in Football Manager. It's gone straight into the hands of the goalkeeper, but Liam Delap, he loves to show off for you lot. The reason he doesn't start constantly, partly because Ibrahim is here and is a wonder kid, but also partly because he is a little bit hit and miss with his form. He's very much a confidence guy, I think. And Farias, can he break through there? He couldn't quite get there ahead of the ahead of the defender that he was in a race with. But now Marquinhos, after playing such a lovely cross a few minutes earlier, has now just given the ball away. I think he was trying a little trick, and the little trick didn't work. And now Hull have got the chance to get in behind Ferguson. He tracked his man, but just couldn't get the ball off him. And he's been beaten by a left back there. Longale's a left back, isn't he? He was last time I signed him. And that's troublesome. That's an almost immediate reply. And Ferguson's just been done for pace here. I mean, he's tried to stay with him and he's tried to get the tackle in there, missed. And then okay, he's an inside forward on the left-hand side. So I guess less worrisome than if it had been a left back who's ruined us. But it does mean that we had 3 points in our clutches, and we've let them slip again. We are off the top of the table. Still 6 points ahead of Blackburn, but not in very good form. And now we go away to Blackburn, and everything could be about to change. And with just a couple of days between the two matches, we're having to make a lot of changes as well. I mean, some of them are changes we absolutely would have made. McAtee and Delap coming back in are obvious ones, but Mundell comes in on the left, Philogene moving over to the right, Deli Bashiru comes into midfield, Norrington Davis, Secco, Hyam and Britton going to be the back four. So I was just having a look at James McAtee before I hit record. That's why we've just seen him appear. Because McAtee, of course, has history with Blackburn. He was on loan there from Leeds in their last promotion season. Right, we haven't got any assistant giving me help. We could go top with a win here. Sean Goater's given up. It might be time to move assistant manager Sean Goater on if he can't offer me help with a team talk in a big match like this one. And between McAtee and Norrington Davies, they've contrived to give the ball away, and a big chance to Blackburn. And of course, we have got a lot of players with Blackburn connections. Britton and Hyam both signed from Blackburn last season when they were in the Premier League in a relegation battle, and we're trying to trim the fat. So they're two players who, although they've been promoted with Blackburn previously, have already proven that they're not good enough for the Premier League, adding to what we were talking about before. And we've obviously got McAtee, who played for them previously on loan as well. I think was Finley Burns there on loan at one point as well. Making that up. I know there was another one who went there on loan. That's a lovely tackle from Patino, who the comment section have been telling me for several days Patino can't tackle. Well, he tackled there. The problem is the ball then went back to Blackburn and ended up in the top corner. But you can't blame Patino for this. That's a good tackle. It's not his fault. There's no other midfielders helping him out. And there's no accounting for a player being able to do that in the Championship. But it does mean we are now very much in an uphill battle to try and cling on to this dominant position we've had for quite some time this season. Swansea are now ahead in their match. This would be 4 defeats in 6, only 1 win in those 6 games as well, if it ends like this and Philogene's got himself sent off and it goes from bad to worse. What a difference putting a few players on the transfer list makes. It makes a huge difference, because all of a sudden you lose that good dressing room atmosphere. It's morale manager. We've talked before about how this game is morale manager, and we have destroyed morale in January trying to clean up the mess the board have made, and it's had the absolute worst possible effect on this team. And we are now going to be going into the final third of the season in terrible form with unhappy players. One of our most faithful servants over the years, Micah Hamilton, no longer here. He's been lost as part of the fallout of all of this, and it's a disaster. There is a disaster happening. Of course, if we could find a way to grab an equaliser, it stops being a disaster and just becomes a slight little blip. Hopefully, it's a blip. Right, Norrington Davies wins the ball back, but then gives it away again. That's becoming a little bit of a theme. We're always last to the second ball, and Secco actually does quite well defending that one. He's kept hold of his man quite nicely there. And Secco is not someone I want to sell. I know he's on the transfer list, but Secco is one of the few players who I look at and think, yeah, he could play for Manchester City in the Premier League. And he's someone we probably need to give a little bit more game time to in this second half of the season. If we're going to be losing anyway, let's play the youngster who's got massive upside. Norrington Davies to McAtee. Got 12 goals during his promotion season with Blackburn. Hasn't quite reached those heights with us this season. Now would be a nice moment to to start moving in that direction. He doesn't. And it remains 1-0 to Blackburn. And I think we're going to take off Mundell and bring on Ibrahim. And we're going to go to 2 up top. And we're just going to... We're going to try and win a football match. So we're going to do that. And we can bring De Gasperi on. We can bring Ferguson. We like to change the fullbacks to keep energy in the fullbacks because they're basically our wingers, especially when we go narrow like this. And fingers crossed we can find a goal from somewhere, but it is Blackburn on the attack again, and they're just running around us. It's as if they're playing with some kind of health boost on because they're just quicker to everything. They seem fitter, they seem quicker, they seem better. I don't know how we're above them in the league. Oh, my word. And Santos in midfield for them is causing real problems. I think he's the youngster who's just gone to Chelsea in real life 6 months or so back, isn't he? And I think we've signed him maybe for Leamington on Twitch last year. We had Andre Santos. We certainly had him somewhere, but he's pulled all the strings for them in midfield today. And thankfully, they've now taken him off. But goodness me, he was a problem. Right, let's do our final changes. Marquinhos is going to come on. The 2 Arsenal loanees up front together for us. And who else have we got? Webster and Farias. Farias is probably the obvious one. Actually, no, we'll bring Webster on. Bring Webster on for McAtee. McAtee's been poor again. And we'll go to 2 advanced forwards because Marquinhos is not really a pressing forward. And we're going to demand more and hope for an equaliser. But I just don't see one coming. Blackburn have looked... I mean, look at the match stats. They've been so much better than us. We've had 1 shot on target. Our XG is pathetic. And now we've gone from a real position of dominance in the middle of January to clinging on to the automatic promotion spots by the skin of our teeth with 15 games still to go. And I'm not really sure where the next win comes from at this point, because that is problematic. And we've still got FFP to fail as well. Hopefully things will be a little bit cheerier in the next episode. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. Thank you very much for watching.